It started, really when I first came to Lagos in 1978, to try and do some sort of trading activities with an uncle of mine, when I started, my late grandfather gave me additional seed money, 500,000 naira at that time. 500,000 naira at that time, it sounds small, but I think Mercedes 200 used to be 5,000 naira, so it's like he gave me money for 100 Mercedes. But, things moved very, very fast, much more than my expectation. And I returned his money. Instead of returning in 3 years, I returned his money less than 6 months. And then I continued the journey, with my own, capital, then starting to trade. And, my first importation, not local trading, was sugar in February 1980. In 86, they abolished the import license, where now you can go and import whatever you want to import, no restrictions, nothing, And I think that is one of the major break for us, because we demonstrated that, yes, we were actually the leaders at that time. And instead of importing everything like what we used to do, fish, baby foods and everything, we concentrated on a few items, mainly sugar, rice, and frozen fish, and kept on expanding and expanding.
So you entered soft commodities in a country where oil is king, and you've made more money than any of the oil barons. That's very curious.
Well, the issue is that, unfortunately, from a place where I come from Nigeria, people believe that, yes, you can only make money in oil. And we have actually proved that, yes, you can make more money, like what you said, if you are not in oil. Oil, I think, makes you lazy.
Ultimately, there was the lure into the oil business for all the reasons that you are explaining. Was it the only option?
From 2010, May or thereabout, we had no debt on our companies. And then we said, okay, fine, since we don't have a debt and we have already piled a lot of cash, what do you do with all this cash? The only other area or industry that could take us was the oil industry, where we can absorb that kind of money. Because in Africa, really, where do you go and put $9 billion of investment? If it's factories for consumable items, we will not be able to handle it.
It's not just yourself investing in refineries. We've heard of the Chinese also doing the same.
Nobody will come and develop this economy, but only us. And when we start, the others will see and then they will follow. But if you turn it the reverse, where we will sit down, we'll expect foreigners to come and develop our economy in Africa, it will never ever happen. So we need to take charge. And that's what we've done, actually. I'm not saying that the Chinese are not going to come, but I've had this for the last 10, 15 years. And if they are going to come, the market in sub-Saharan Africa is huge for refining. In the next 35, 37 years, we're going to have almost about 2 billion people in Africa. Can anybody afford to take off his eyes from 2 billion people? No.
I still want to focus on Nigeria, though, because we're talking about investments in refineries, and it speaks to a lot of inefficiencies within the system. Yes. Here's what's often said. Nigeria, Africa's #1 exporter of oil, probably the largest importer of petrol and petroleum products. It's a huge irony, and it's an irony not just because the system doesn't work, but because the system is full of corruption. What do you say to that?
The so-called corruption is true. There is a lot of corruption in Nigeria, but some of it is perceived. I mean, the blowing of the trumpet of corruption, corruption, corruption. Yes, but corruption does not really stop business totally. It disturbs business, but it does not stop it totally.
So your journey to the top, in a system that is notoriously corrupt, how did you avoid paying bribes, kickbacks, in order to get your business to succeed?
Well, we don't really pay kickbacks and we don't pay bribes. And I always tell my staff, if they do anything, they are on their own. I will personally be the one to hand them over to the police. So what we did, when we stabilized all the businesses, we now went ahead and listed them. If I own 60%, 70%, why should I now go and take the burden? Okay, they are using my own family name as the brand name. Why should I now go now and take a risk on behalf of everybody to now go and have corruption in the company?